had an eating disorder from the time I was 11 years old until I turned 28. At that point, I woke up and I thought, this is insane. What is going on? I had no idea where to look for help. I became determined at that point to become a normal eater. And I did. It took me 3 short years. So please do yourself a favor. Don't go away and don't give up hope. If I can do it, so can you. On this training video, what we're going to talk about is what I call the 3 tracks. So we have 3 tracks that we need to really be aware of when we're dealing with our emotional eating issues. The first track is the biochemical track. And what that means is our biochemistry in balance. And for many of us, we have certain sensitivities to food. We have certain imbalances that are triggering our responses to certain foods. So if we just look at emotional eating from an emotional standpoint, we actually miss a very important piece of the puzzle. So the way I like to work with the biochemistry track is I like to have my clients work with a dietitian or a holistic nutritionist or a naturopath, somebody who's going to do some pretty good testing nutrition-wise, so that you can find out if you've got certain sensitivities or allergies to food, and maybe some of the other conditions that might be in place, like, for example, an underactive thyroid or brain chemistry that's not in alignment. So if we try to work with our emotional eating without looking into the biochemistry of our physiology, then what happens is we can spend a lot of time backpedaling, a lot of wasted time trying to deal with the emotional eating part. And we don't want to do that. We want to avoid that. Now, the second track then is what we call the emotional track. So the emotional track has to do with specifically that. It's usually set up by certain conditions that were created when we were younger, and so that we carry those conditions into our present day life, and certain things just set us off. They're called triggers. We have emotional triggers. And if we haven't recognized what our triggers are, then before you know it, it's like something from the outside, something external, will trigger a reaction deep inside our body, deep inside our nervous system, and that sets us to want to disconnect. There's something very painful in there that we don't want to feel, and so what happens is before we know it, we're eating. So that track is very, very important, and I have very specific things I use and help my clients with to deal with that emotional track, those emotional triggers. Now, the third track, which is equally as important to the first 2, is the mental track. And the mental track has to do with the way we think. So you wouldn't believe it, but we really set ourselves up for failure by the thoughts that go through our head. So a perfect example that we're all familiar with is the thought that, oh, whoops, I screwed up, I messed up, might as well just keep going, and then Monday I'll start my diet again. Well, you know what, that happens then. We don't ever do that. But notice that there's a thought that takes place, and the thought is, whoops, I screwed up. And it's that whoops, I screwed up thought, might as well go all the way, that is the culprit that causes all the rest of the pattern of failure to continue. So that's a very brief synopsis of the 3 tracks that we've got to pay attention to when we're working with our emotional eating issues. If you'd like more information about how you can heal from emotional eating, visit my website, emotionaleating.com. When you get there, just simply subscribe to the newsletter, and when you do, you'll be sent a series of training videos just like this one. Please don't give up hope. If I can do it, so can you.